So I'm kind of getting off to a late start today. Thinking of surfing and then painting. It's going to be overcast most of the day, so I'm just going to try to make the most of things. So, Surfline gives Lindemar a rating of very poor. Usually when Surfline says very poor, nobody shows up, and oftentimes there are waves and it turns out to be a really fun day. So I'm gonna check it out in person and we'll see what happens. Did you bring your boogie board?
I did, but it's in the trunk.
Actually, the waves are looking pretty fun today. I mean, they're small, but it looks good. Freaking apocalypse now out here. All right, so I'm at a place called Coyote Point. There's a couple challenges with this location. Number one, very windy. Number two, lots of aircraft passing over. But this is a spot that I painted when I first started painting, like almost 20 years ago. This is like one of the first spots that I came to. Yeah, we're right in the flight path of the landing pattern here for San Francisco International. In any case, I'm gonna try to find, the light is beautiful right now, that's the good news. So I'm gonna try to find a protected spot and come up with a composition. I did pay my $6 to get in here, so I gotta get my money's worth. All right, so I've managed to find a spot that's sort of out of the wind here. As I mentioned before, beautiful light. Let me show you what I'm thinking. All right, so we've got San Francisco Bay right here. And then these, whatever sort of pine trees these are. And then in the distance, there's Mount Diablo, which is in the East Bay. So I like the shape of these. You know, there's quite a bit of wind swell right now. Wind is probably, I mean, it must be 20 miles an hour. I'm protected by these eucalyptus right here. Got the Anderson easel set up. And I'm gonna try something a little different. I might use a little bit of liquid, but I'm gonna try to paint fairly, you know, to keep the paint fairly thick today. So I'm gonna use my usual colors, but I'm gonna try to limit the amount of liquid that I use. I'm gonna be painting on a 16 by 20 inch stretch canvas. I've got a bunch of these I wanna use up. As you guys probably know, I like to paint on my own homemade masonite panels. But I've got a couple boxes of these canvases and I want to use them up and figure they'd be perfect for experimentation. So that's what I'm going to do today, some experimentation and have some fun. They're closing this park down in like an hour and a half, so this is going to be fast. Okay, so here is the compositional idea. We got a high horizon here with the hills on top. Some of these pine trees in the foreground. I'm going to try to feature, you know, at least one of them, you know, completely in shadow, and then the others with this really nice warm light on them. I'm going to change the dark pattern here, the shadow pattern. Okay, so here's where I am so far, and I can already see that I want to change the pattern of the shadows. In fact, like say this area here, I'm using dioxazine purple with yellow ochre. I'm looking for an interesting continuity in the shadow pattern here, or not a continuity, but just an interesting pattern. And I think that might be a little better. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so here is a look at what I finished up with, and I was able to paint for just over an hour. This is a composition I'd like to return to, possibly even paint in a larger size, but I do like the idea, you know, the trees against the water, and then the high horizon with Mount Diablo in the distance. One thing that people have questioned is why I would paint the tree and then paint the surrounding water afterwards. What I like to do is use negative space to define the positive shapes. And I think you just get a more interesting effect that way. And then when you're painting wet on wet, it's also really difficult to, like if I was to paint the water in and then paint the tree on top, you just get muddy color. This painting was really inspired by the paintings of Tom Thomson, who's a Canadian painter who lived from 1877 to 1917. I just did a review of his work, 12-minute video, and I put that on Patreon. There's a link down below. So if you want to check that out and also help support the channel, there is a Patreon link down below. But his work is great, really inspiring, lots of saturated colors, thick paint application, cool compositions, great color harmony, very inspiring. So this painting was definitely inspired by him. I do like to look at paintings, you know, like the last video I did was Monet's paintings. I like to study his water, look at it carefully over and over again, and then go out and try to incorporate some of those techniques. And that's what I did with Tom Thomson. So yeah, so check him out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Stay creative, and I'll see you guys in the next video.